Oh. All right. All right. We're live. So it says. Let's straighten out the chair. Figure drawing's about to begin. Maybe we'll go a little deeper. Please join in. Hopefully I spelled my website right. It's gonna be fun tonight. Fun live streaming with Bonnie at the Atelier Artista. Please join us. We begin in 10 minutes. Have your pencil sharpened. Making up the song as I go. So let's just get drawing in 10 more minutes. 10 more minutes to go. I don't know if you can see that. It's too dark. Okay, we'll go one more. 10 more minutes to go. Join us. Maybe I'll draw on this white paper. I still don't know. But I've got all my pencils sharpened and ready to go. It's gonna be exciting to draw and listen to me rant. I've been down the rabbit hole on YouTube, and I'm sure that will come out. Make yourself a tea or coffee. We'll do something fun tonight. We'll be drawing. I think I'll make myself 10 minutes. Exercise patience. Bum, 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 bum. Make sure OBS is working. Okay, where are you going? OBS. There we go. Yep, you can hear me on many fronts. Okay. So many windows open on this laptop. It's hot in the studio today as well. So I've got the windows open. Hopefully that doesn't create too much noise. 5 minutes for those who are joining in. It's always a little bit tighter on the live stream than the actual screen that I've got. C'est la vie. It's stuck on me. Whoa. Talk about timing. It is time. All right. I haven't yet decided what to draw on. Those of you who are joining me for the first time, I used this white paper last time. Maybe I'll go for this. I wish we could do a poll or vote here. So the image that's available on atelierartista.com is something I took at the Musée d'Orsay. So I think I'm going to go with the brown paper today. And then maybe, she's horizontal, first things first, but maybe use some white chalk at the end. There are some shine parts on the sculpture, so that might be a nice enhancement that we can add in. I have more than 5 pencils ready, mostly Pierre Noir 1710 Contes. Letter B, I've got a little bit of charcoal, drafting pencil, some erasers, and kneadable eraser. I don't have anyone reminding me that my head's in the way, so I'll do my best to keep looking up at the screen to make sure that I'm not blocking your view. And I'm going to try to talk my way through this. There might be times when I'm just totally silent. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm sweating to the oldies right now. So hot in this studio, though I have the windows open. If you guys do want to leave comments, I will look at them periodically. I do appreciate knowing what's going on. And if you like doing these, this is my absolute most favorite sculpture. It's when you first come in and up the stairs at the Musée d'Orsay, and the hips are just pressed so high. So I want to use where the model is on the block as my horizontal line. So I'm just going to look up right now at the screen and take a measure and see if it's equidistant. It's not quite, and so I'll drop the line a little bit less than halfway. And I'm starting always with my longest line, and in this case, it's a horizontal. She's laying down. If the model's standing, vertical. Maybe the page would be the other way. And I'm just going to take a measure of her head to her groin to her feet. Head to her groin to her feet. When I take that measure off the screen, they're nearly the same. Her head's a little more this way. I'm going to put it slightly off center then. Just slightly. Okay? And that will be, but above the line where the legs are coming together. This will be the base that she's laying upon. And so that gives me the ability to define already how big my drawing space is. And I really like having this envelope to begin with, because if you don't constrain your proportions, you start to grow outside of it. So we're going to use the Pontemoro timing, which is 25 minutes. I'm just going to start with a loose kind of gestural lay-in. I have to just get up and move my screen over because I'm looking far to this direction to look at my resource, and it's not working for me. I thought I was all set up, but not quite, because she's not centered on the screen. I have all the YouTube, OBS, EOS, ADD software on the right. This should do, I guess. Let's begin the glorious drawing procedure. Not COVID. Not, I swear. Okay. Okay, so often I'll go head, chest, hips, but in this case the hips are the most dominant. I'm using extra black layout pencil. And we'll just find, just eyeballing it, there's this boxiness to the hips. I don't want to capture. The body goes down. Maybe even sooner. It's kind of like a mountain, really. Back arches up. This would be hips. Maybe even a little wider. Hopefully this is not, I feel like I might be drawing a little too small here. Being conservative in my approach. There we go. Good. So the height of the hips, I just turn it sideways to find out, you know, if that knee is corresponding, if it's kind of a square. So this distance is equal to this distance, to the patella in this model. Just little checks like that throughout. Then the calf comes down and swoops along. So we give the length, maybe a little bit more length on this. The ends of the foot should be here. So this brings the leg in a little bit. I really love the gentleness, the drapery of the body. It's like a soft white sculpture, and it has this, you know, even though it's rock and hard, it just has this really soft look. So maybe I grew the hip a little bit there. We'll see what happens. Just feeling her out. Using an angle of measure on the subject. So actually we can bring this down a little bit more. So whatever angle I hold up and look at, as long as I don't turn my wrist, should be equal as it comes down. And it was coming down from just behind the kneecap at the quadricep. So that angle to the toe. So I'm going from the trochanter to the toe on what I'm viewing, and I just bring it down. And it works out, which is nice. So this distance is equal to this distance on what I'm looking at, and it works out again. It's always nice when your plan is already coming together. So I've got a chest cavity. The center line of the body is going this way, and it turns. We find the belly button around there-ish. So I'm imagining that in my head. Might be a little higher up. The body is actually going behind here and underneath. But because she's sitting on a box, it's squishing in. That should be even closer. I'm kind of drawing the platform. From the platform, there's a very strong angle which goes from the center point down to the foot like this. So looking good there. It gets cut off at this point, but it does line up. And let's take a distance on the hand. The distance from where I've picked, from here to here, is about equal to here, where the hand is falling. It's slightly higher, so I'll just move it up. And if I take that angle on the outside of the arm, gives me that. So that's probably where our arm will live. We'll just start with a simple tube in our construction at first. Just in case distances change. And I'm only a few minutes in, I gotta add a head. I think you guys can see there's a lot there. So it's time for a little tea. This is not gonna help me sweat less. But I'll still do it. So we have the neck coming down, shoulder coming out, maybe a little wider. And a little bit lower. That's better. I'm just squinting my eyes and just simplifying the envelope. Wait, that's where the hand just crosses the center line. The thumb nearly lines up to the groin area here. We're going to have to intensify our shadows because the Musée d'Orsay was very softly lit. So we're going to have to start to learn where the shapes and the fall of light go and the anatomy to enhance it. If you are putting this drawing through a computer or it's on your phone, you can highly turn up the contrast a lot, and that will help you start to see where these light and dark shadow shapes are changing. If that helps you out, use it. It's all tools for us to become better artists. I think of the day when this sculpture was originally made. You probably had to do a lot of sketches from a model. I mean, back then you could have done plaster casts as well, but it was very unlikely, especially with something so gestural. This figure is just really, really interesting looking and dramatized. Maybe he had a mannequin for some of it. Who knows? Someone might know. I haven't read the book on it. I just think it's beautiful, so that's what we're gonna go for. Nose, 1, 2. Let's bring that in. Our thirds. 2. Okay. That's the brow, that's the nose, that approximates the chin. It might alter. I'm still very early in the game here. It's going to depend a lot on this arm, where I'm ending. Just by the way I've designed it. Okay, hair. turns all over. The feet should be lower than the hands, so I'm just going to take another measurement. The hand can go up a little bit. Then if I go horizontal across, that's where the ankle is. And you saw I just kind of arbitrarily put these lines here. I don't mind going out of them. I'm trying to get it right the first time, obviously. This line's up. And I also have a tendency of drawing the legs a little too thick. So I have a feeling, you know, that's where these relationships are happening that go a little off. Okay. So I'm halfway through the first session. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my kneadable eraser. It might have gotten away on me here. And just soften all these lines down. Actually, I'll just use my hand. That's layout pencil. And I'm going to be drawing in Conte, so I just want to lighten it. It's there. It's ambiguous. It's a little bit vague. Kneadable eraser is a nicer way of doing it because it's so soft. Oh, I was sitting over it. So I'll just grab a little piece. Unless you have a big one to roll, just go over these. Get the harshness of the lines off. Soften what you're doing. Drawing is cool, but toes are better. I can definitely draw toes. We'll draw some toes. They look pretty interesting in this. I tend to leave the feet a little more ambiguous so that, you know, those with foot fetishes are left miserable, but also you're not staring just at one part. Staring away at one part. Skinny legs and all. We'll see. I hope they are skinny. I hope they are in good balance with the model here. This model's great. She doesn't move. So I'm switching over to the Pierre Noir Conte, and I'm going to bring the drawing board up on my lap. I may even have the opportunity to zoom in a little bit so you guys have a little bit tighter view. The layout pencil is quite a lot lighter. It's graphite, and the reason why I'm erasing a lot of it, other than graphite being great to erase, is a lot of things won't stick to it because it's so slippery. I'll probably start in the highest general area, and I might even do something a little bit later, taking this out of MasterCut, maybe put some trees. It kind of looks like a landscape. This doesn't just have to be traditional copy drawing, right? We want to make these fun. I sold the piece from last week, so I didn't think that was the goal. I'm just practicing. But if you want this piece, you're welcome to get it off of me. I got rid of another piece today as well. It's not how I'm keeping the studio open, but I'm keeping my practice going. So I will try to not bend over and get my head in the picture. So I'll pick the high point of the, so the trochanter dips in on this model. But we'll go up a little higher from there. There's a divot which is across here. These hips are at a slight angle like this. So this would be the ASIS. the two high hip bone points on your body. And then if you go parallel all the way down to the side of the hips, just across from the groin, that is where the trochanter attaches. So the side of the largest bone in our body, the femur, would attach there. And so you'll see a bump or a divot. And in this case, we have both. So we're going to put those in ever so lightly. Still being very sketchy. I'm using a lot of this end of my pencil. I don't want to commit to too much right now. But now, if I have a straight line, I'm going to start adding in the minor shapes on top of that. My hips are a little bit more angular than the sculptures, so I'll just straighten that out a little bit. So essentially, I'm going from the top down and out, because then I won't be dragging my hand. Later, I'll have to get a piece of paper and put it underneath so I don't smudge so much. Okay. Something I forgot to plan in here was the hand in the opposite side. So I squint my eyes and I just turn the hand into a box. It's just so much easier to start with a simple shape and cut things out. That's the way you would do the bark drawings as well. If you're carving something, like a piece of wood, and I wanted you to make the letter A or B, you get the block first, and then you cut out the pieces, and you do the same thing with drawing. I feel like drawing is more like cutting away, like reductive, like carving marble, and painting is more like clay, where we just put more and more people, you know, more and more material, right? Building it up. So one is reductive in a way. Even though I'm adding lines, I'm cutting away space. I'm cutting out this negative space all the time. And actually, looking at this negative space here, I went a little bit large, so I will trim it down a little bit. So still quite light. I do want you guys to be able to see it on camera, but just getting everything more correct. The nipple on this breast is in horizontal alignment with the belly button. The belly button is in alignment with this knuckle, the pinky knuckle. So it's about there. It's a little higher than I have it, I believe. So if I give a significant thing, and I'm going to measure it up on the model here, and I'm just curious. So it's about this length away. And there I have it. So just checking before I commit too much. This paper is not as smooth, and so I don't want to draw in and gouge it out too early in the process. That could spell disaster later. Interesting. So I'm measuring the torso from the groin on the model, and I have found that the fingers line up to the middle. So if it goes from here to here, the fingers should be in alignment here. I'm going to also measure the belly button to the groin, and that is equal to the distance of the nipple. Okay, so I've checked two places, but I have to slide my fingers over. They were too far this way. That's of the backhand that's resting. So I got a little bit, I went a little bit big on the hand and slid it over. All right, 3 minutes. The angle of the hand. Maybe go a little bit bigger. Maybe go a little bit bigger. It's not, it doesn't quite line up to that bone, but close. So the more lines I'm putting, right, the harder it is for me to erase and fix these things. But I'm getting more and more accurate with each pass. So I'm going to measure again where that nipple is, just to be sure, just to be sure. This distance is equal to this distance. Okay. So I'm still using my landmarks for these types of measurements, you know. We use landmarks for measurements. The breasts are the width of the hand away from each other and at an angle. So the other nipple falls about here. It's tilted, and I can hold my pencil up to check that tilt. Actually, a little bit here. Just finding markers. So this distance, halfway, is actually where the body is starting to tilt, which is actually just behind. I went from here, but really I need to go from the center, which is just where I have it. That center line that I established is my scaffolding for figuring out where I am with this body. So still being architectural about it, this line that goes across is where the tendon, where actually the shadow's falling from the chest muscle, which goes from the center line here, attaches to the sternum, goes across and attaches to the inside of the arm. So you almost get this like tube that attaches here almost. Okay? So, and that allows me to see where the breast is falling. More importantly, the breast shadow falls below the horizontal line, but it's still, it would look something like this. Just to get a, you know, a location. I will intensify this quite a bit in my shadow pass, but just to give an idea of kind of what I'm thinking as I move across. I'm trying to get it as accurate and right as possible as I go. We tend to overemphasize, so making this curvature too big. Are we looking on the inside of the line or the outside of the line? I would say that mine is not sloped enough. Okay, so Pontomoro timing. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Step away from your drawing stuff and then come back. Because that way you have fresh eyes to see what you're doing again. And it gives you a chance for a P or T. P or T. So we'll leave this lovely lady resting. And also make sure that you have a way to store your pencils, or if they're on the side of a table, that you put an eraser beside so they don't roll off. I broke 2 pencils last week and I'm not doing it again. I have sharpened a bunch of Pierre Noirs, and just in case I break them. I don't want to use my break my small 5-minute break for sharpening pencils. So be prepared, like a Boy Scout. Also, snap a shot. The old social media. Step by step. Grabbing this, we might be able to use it for explaining some of the things we're seeing. Little bonus is when you have the art teaching stuff to actually use it. One minute remains in the break. I'll saddle back up on the drawing horse. Make sure my hands are clean enough to do what I need to do here. Store my kneadable eraser up here, but I often forget it's up there. I think one of the best places to put it is if you have a cold soda, you put it on the lid or underneath it. You want to keep this as firm as possible. As it warms up, it becomes really stringy. This is the coldest place right now because I'm drinking hot tea tonight. 5 seconds. Okay, 25 minutes, Puntamoro timing. We come in, try to sit straight. If you don't have a camera over your head like me, I'm close to bumping it. But try to keep your posture really good. It's something that we start to slouch, or in the case of, I'm pulling the table up, but you know, you start to bend over and you start to get more and more in the paper. Try to keep yourself upright. We want to be able to do this for longer, which is why I use and build the drawing donkeys at Atelier Artista, because we can go for much longer than if we start on an easel at first. We got to build these muscles up over time. So I'm zooming back in a little bit for you guys so that you can see kind of the detail work that I'm doing. This arm might have to come up even higher. Let's just see. Oh, that does line up. So I was looking where the rib cage is pushing out, basically dropping an invisible plumb in my mind. And the back is already dropped by there. So the arm is going over top. There's quite a space here as well. In the reference, it's very hard to see where things are because we have a lost edge here. The fabric that's draped over the arm happens around here. So I'm squinting my eyes to find things of interest. Straight down from the nipple, so like a plumb line, I see this teardrop type shape. So, you know, giving myself little markers throughout. If you don't know what the anatomy is that you're dealing with, don't put it in. Here, I have the thoracic arch. You know, it would look kind of like that. I would have a curve going here across the front plate of the chest and to where it attaches to the pec, just to give some of the shapes that you might kind of see while you're working on this piece. There'd be another curve here. You know, you could even go as far as drawing roundness at the belly. All right, so from the pubis, there is a curve. It's not a straight line. Curve going up here. So this might be a little overemphasized, but it is going to be part of my shadow pattern anyhow. I'm going to take a measure again on this knee just to make sure that as I went this way, now I'm going to go this way. I like to keep myself in relative balance and harmony. If I draw over here, I might draw over here. So from that center line, these should be equidistant, and they are. Okay, we're good. The roundness to the outside of the leg. And kind of coming in. You know, your IT bands over there. But let's see where this patella is. Patella has many parts of the landmark. So from the table to there is where the patella is. So I can pull it in a little bit. And just matching the angles that I see. I am going to draw the kneecap here where I think it is. Looks like that to me. Tibia tuberosity. Okay. I feel like the top of my legs might be a little thick, but we'll draw that curving indication, like as if a cylinder is stuck into the hip. Right, there's a little fold there. If you really squint your eyes down, you can see where this is on the model, or on this, I should say, sculpture. We don't have the model anymore. This summer I'm gonna keep using some of the great stuff I've photographed in all my trips and studies abroad, because I have them and I've always wanted to do it, and then I own copyright on these images, so I can put them on the website and you can just use them. And then in the fall, the plan is to have the models back. We'll see what the numbers look like in terms of the beer named thing. I'm actually going to use a little bit of a shadow shape just to see if I'm in the right zone here. Should taper down. So I might need to move my patella up. It's a little too close to my horizontal. And there should be a gentle move up here. So we'll go like this. The magpies and crows are outside having a good time. We had them nesting in the roof of Sea Space when we first moved in. And my job was to push some balloons out the window so they would float up, and then tie them off so that there would be like a happy face balloon just swinging back and forth, so it would deter them from nesting. Pretty interesting way to get rid of a bird you don't want. And it's not that they didn't want the birds. The problem was the birds were carrying big sticks from the river, and they were falling down on the potentially people and parking lot below. It was more of a safety issue than we don't like the birds. So nearly this height to the knee. So I'm going to have to reassess the length of this foot here from the center line. So I can actually bring it in. They started to get a little long, and that's because where I found the knee was to the right, in my case. I guess I'm getting better at the talking while I'm drawing. It's not exactly what I'm thinking, but I'm still trying to keep it interesting for you guys who are watching. So I think the feet are going to come down. So from the kneecap to the ankle is an angle like this. Wow, maybe I was in the right place. I like to get the straight line first, and then build the muscles on top, on the outside of it. So, yeah, that's about right. Directly below the patella. And sloping down. So everything did move slightly over. Maybe the legs just need to be a little thicker, and I was once again overcompensating, making my legs too thick in the beginning. Who knows? It's all just a puzzle, and what you're dealing with if you're drawing right now might be a totally different way of looking at it, a totally different way of dealing with the puzzle that you're drawing. Hopefully some of you are following along. Maybe some of you are just listening. Either way, I appreciate it. I'm just going to keep doing this all summer. That's my plan for practicing. Until we can reopen. Have y'all back in here. So here, the kneecap to the right begins lower. But they should be relative size to one another. They're quite close. The shadow patterns are what's really going to sell that illusion. So, what is it? The vastus. Lateralis, right, is on that teardrop shape. So I'm just going to give a little teardrop shape. We don't see it fully turned. And then it goes down, and then we have the outside of the calf. So that might have got a little thin there. It's nearly this width. Okay. Might have got a little thin. So I've got to be cautious that I'm not falling into the trap of getting stuck in the details, because I don't even have that tube shape of the legs conjoining. So just another measurement from the tip of the head to my crosshair. This length, this length is equal to this length. So the foot will end much further in now, which totally makes sense. Horizontally across from the hand, which may still change. The hand might be higher up, but that gives me an indication of where this leg turns into an ankle. This leg and the calf are in front of this leg, and then this leg comes out and shoots more forward than that leg. And still using this kind of cloth sculpture, which is structural probably. When they're carving, they need to have that, otherwise maybe it will bust the leg underneath. I'll take a measure of the foot too and compare it to the head, and guess what? If this is my head length, that's my foot length, and I still wind up where I want to be. People draw the foot way too small all the time. My theory is the far foot. Not those who have practiced and learned the skills, but I think it's because when we look down at our own feet, they're really far away, and therefore they look smaller. Like our legs look like they're tapering. And I think that's also why people draw the legs getting smaller and smaller when they first begin figure drawing. When I taught at ACAD, I started to notice that everyone has to go through the same learnings. It might not be in the same order, but no one is born with the innate ability to just perfectly draw a figure out of the gate. Depending on, you know, what kind of sports injuries you may have had, you might know more about the collarbone. We tend to only know what relates to ourselves. And so areas that we don't like, or areas that we avoid in drawing, hands and feet, being something that I notice that people just have to learn as they go. So one of our landmark points, going from the finger, is the malleolus. The inside on this foot, the medial malleolus, I'm just going to signify by that little circle. I may have overemphasized this foot a little bit, but we'll see as we go. Once again, behind the heel, or the calcaneus, right? We don't have to use these terms all the time, but sometimes it's nice to separate, you know. And when I just say forearm, I might want to start talking about some of the actual muscles we're seeing. Sorry, I started to slide down there. I didn't even notice. This is why it's good to have a screen in front of me. See where we're at. So 10 more minutes in this session. I'm taking a measure from the hip on the crosshair to the hand and seeing if it relates to the head, and it does. So I take the head length, and that's where my hand will line up. So as long as you have you know, some sort of relationship between your pieces, even if they're wrong, you'll start to have more and more relationships that are right. You know, you don't have to draw the tubes of the fingers. I can see clearly one finger, so I am putting it in at this time. There's not going to be much drawn on this hand. It's a pretty simple shape. But who knows? This is also just time management. Cut it in. Up at the back, it starts to... We got the bicep right here. And then the forearm. Which is... If you measure from the elbow to the fingertip, this distance will be up here. You can also look for the divot on the other side of where the elbow is going to be. It's in alignment with this and close to that turn. So this is actually right here. If I draw, that's the forearm. That's the big meaty part of the forearm. It's very difficult to see in this reference. It's a lost edge. And it goes up to the bicep. That will all be shadow down there. So that ends up being quite a small shape in this particular piece. I now have below the horizontal line the shoulder coming out. I don't know if you can still see where that is. This is the deltoid muscle. To a lesser extent, you know, kind of you could say that's a landmark. It's not quite the acromion process. That's on the other side and behind. But I'm just running my eyes across and I see that it's in alignment here. So here and here. Just checking all the time that I go through. Thanks for the likes, guys. Just a little sliver of a neck. Who knows, I might have to darken this whole side to show the lightness that is. White will help as well. Ankle here. It's all going to be in shadow. We're going to get in the shadow shapes in the next round. Tiny little chin. I find the sculptures of females from this era, late 1800s, early 1900s, they all look like the Statue of Liberty, the faces. In some part because they were all learning at the École des Beaux-Arts, and they were learning the same thing that is taught in the Bargue drawings. I don't want to do too much detail in this face yet. The eye would be right about there. So from here to here, halfway, that's where the eye is going to be. In this case, the eyes tend to be halfway through the head, but we've got such a little turn of the face. So we're seeing kind of the brow ridge and then the eye. And so make sure that you divot that bone, the orbital bone. And actually, it should be lower than the zygomat. And the zygomat's just slightly higher than the chin. So I gotta pull this down a little bit. Got a little bit too thick. You know, the thickness of the pencil there. And I'm just gonna show the shadow side of the bridge of the nose. Just so I know where I am, like that. Might have to make it a little bit lower. Third. The cheekbone points to the nose, and then kind of like the face mask like that. So that'll become all shadow. Just using locations with my last little bit of time in this session. We're not trying to commit a lot of line, just kind of boxing it in. This connects to this. If you're drawing along the same and keeping up with me, you'll be like, oh yeah, that does connect to that. But you might just be dancing around your own way. I'm really trying to avoid saying anything stupid or political or conspiratorial, even though lately that seems to be all the podcast crap I'm watching and listening to. It just gets too crazy. It's very entertaining, but it's just not very realistic or I think worthy for this channel. The hair goes all the way down to where the elbow is, I think, or it's just like, I don't know, it's getting abstracted down here. There's a big curl here. So just looking for some of the big shapes. They're kind of snaky, that kind of thing. I'll indicate the other eye maybe. These will be abstracted. A little bit more. Abstract little shapes. Still, let's commit to this hand. Why not? We have a finger shape. The finger coming down shape. It's above the body. Oh, the lights in the studio just turned on. That's weird. Must be the ghost. Diagonal. This one actually touches the body and causes a small shadow on the flesh. And then the good old pinky finger is going underneath. And we'll punch that up a little bit more as we go. And then a thumb, which is kind of a spade shape from this angle. Okay. There is a minute or so left before the 5-minute break. I'm just going to clean up a little bit. In the next session, I'm going to draw the shadow shapes. And then we'll start toning this bad boy. So I'm working nice and slow and methodical today. Already it looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. Hey, thanks Jeff. Jeff just joined in. We've done the lay-in. So shadow shapes in the next section. Well, it's still a minute. I guess I could start some more. Well, I can also draw some of the folds of the cloth. I'm not going to do full rendering of this part unless there's tons of time and I'm like, oh, you know what? I'll draw all the cloth. Maybe I'll draw the base. It doesn't interest me. Not really, at least. If you're doing the classical drawing, you should, because it is abstract shapes and it really helps you to learn the professional skill of draftsmanship. But it feels like hell on earth sometimes. But I highly recommend it. Pushing yourself through past what you know to do. Okay, we're about to beep. So, zoom out a little bit. We're gonna pause. Add 5-minute break. 5 minutes, not 6. Give your legs a stretch. Give your eyes a rest. Look at something else. Text your friend. Make a coffee. Have a pee. Have some tea. I've drank my tea already. Holy. I'm going to take a snapshot of where we're at currently. I'm going to put these on the Instagram. I think they'll probably go to Facebook. That foot and leg is going to be shrunk, I think. It's a little too big for my liking. Yeah. Not the illusion I want. Two minutes. I'm picking a fresh Conte with a much pointier tip because I sharpened 5 for a reason. We're gonna draw the shadow shapes now. If you haven't trained your eye to see these really well, you gotta squint your eyes. Squint them down. You're looking for dark shapes. If this is still a problem and you have a tablet or a laptop with this picture on right now, just go and change the curves or up the contrast to help your eye see the light and dark shapes. We're gonna look for the darkest shapes that we can. I see a very dark one underneath this leg. So using the firm edge of the pencil, I'm gonna start simplistically drawing in my shadow shapes and blocking them in. Just keep it vague right now. We want to just get the darks where the darks go. It's kind of abstract, and because this paper that I'm using is so grainy, I'll zoom in. I don't want that grain. I like how it looks sometimes, but I like to do it when I refortify my core shadow. So I'm going to end up smudging it to get more in the paper, and that will lighten and soften my shadow shapes anyhow. So don't worry about total accuracy. If you go off, it's fine because you're going to be able to smudge with your finger and also later erase out some of it. So we're going to do the shadow shapes. And you'll see that the way I'm bending my wrist here, just think of that full rotation and control that you have now with your pencil. So we're not drawing lines so much. We're trying to shade forms. So I just bring it right down the leg. Now I don't like where this foot wound up upon looking at it for a while. So I'm actually just going to be vague right now and forget about that until the next pass. A lot of it when I close my eyes is in shadow anyways. So I'll just scrub it down like that. Now even though I can see the differences here, I want you to put your tones, your shadow tones, just put them in the same. One value is fine. If I put a value on top, you can still see that line. What is light? What is dark? And we can bring the light back out on top by erasing. We can bring the light back out with our charcoal. So find out in terms of the shapes and the planes what you can see as being light or dark. I am not worried about reflected light, which is a dark, but it's the cast and core shadow here that help us separate and give roundness to the form. You think of like, even a Banksy has it. Just think about how you can make more roundness come out. More depth to your drawing. So I'm not picking any hard edges or cast shadows yet, just following shadow forms. We want to enhance what we see. It was very bright in that gallery, so everything might look pretty light to you. We'll use cross contour drawing for the smaller forms. What I mean by that is that we're going to use the direction of the form, so the leg is going this way to create the shadow shape. So just be aware of kind of that direction. And we're intensifying what we can see. When I'm first teaching drawing, I always teach people to draw the darks darker. That's the only lateral movement we really have. We can't make this paper whiter. In fact, the lightest parts on this sculpture are way too light. But I don't even see this drawing as white. I see it as the tan, and I'm going to do the highlights. One on the knee, down by the ankle, one on the breast, probably in white chalk. So as the forearm is turning away and under from the light, that's what we're looking for right now. And see them as simple shapes. Don't worry about them, what they are, what your brain tells them they are. Just simple shapes. Is that a triangle? Is that a square? You know? The simpler at this point, the better, for sure. And it's okay to be more feathered along that soft rounding part of the body, because that's going to be our halftone as we move in toward the light. Which I'm doing cross contours on. For the most part, the top of the head, so this eye, that's up. All this is dark. It's moving away. All this hair is actually dark. That's why I didn't draw all so many details, because it's going to be smudged out. Under the finger, the thumb, this finger, that shadow there, this whole side of this leg. I'm gonna get my little smudger here pretty soon. And I smudge from the darkest area to the lighter area, because sometimes that gives me halftone like right away. I'll be darkening on top as well, dark on top of dark. We do it by building it up so that we don't score our paper, create ditches or lines. Sometimes it's inevitable based on the paper that you're doing. I'm using this like a pencil. Scrub it in, get it in all those little nooks and crannies. And then I'm going to look for my darkest darks again, and I'm going to pile it on top. And in this pass, I'll probably start drawing in cast shadows or anything that has a hard edge. I got like a paper scrape here. So you can see a little V. So what I'm going to have to do, I hope that camera catches it, is just take the tip of my drawing device and just lots of little dots to get in there. We want this to be fairly smooth, right? Thanks for coming, Jeff. Coming nowhere? You're at home, I'm sure. You get my drift. Totally forgot to set the clock. I'm gonna guess that that was like 5 minutes, but maybe I'm off. Smoothing down my darks. We just want to map where these shadows go. You can use a chamois at this point. Paper towel. Henry Yan, he would use just his paper towel. You could just go all the same direction even if you wanted. Kind of have like a crosshatch thing going on. But just mapping in shadows. What's light, what's dark. That's pretty good. Okay. Now I'll look at it with squinted eyes. Fortify some of the shapes by putting more dark on top. In fact, I'll also finish the drawing bit of this ankle. It's all very dark on one side of the leg. So I'll get that in first. It's just the foot got a little too long. So from the ankle to my center line, halfway, halfway is where these legs cross. So if I go like that, that tells me that that's where my ankle should be. And then I go across to the finger, it's about there. So just kind of triangulating where things might be. I'm not fully committed on this back leg yet anyhow, but I do want to know where this foot's going. So I'll take a measure again. It is the length of the head minus a little bit. It depends if I'm tilting the pencil. So I'm going to go find another measurement on the body that's equidistant. Like this is pretty good. My foot was a little too big, and it really makes a difference. It starts to look like a weird perspective drawing. We don't want it to be a weird perspective drawing. And I'm also squinting my eyes and just looking at it like dark shapes. And refine. Underneath this foot is a cast shadow. And in it we can see the toes. And it connects up to where the ball of the foot connects. So the shadow underneath the body will be my darkest shadow for sure. Doesn't mean it's all hard edge, but I tend to draw cast shadows harder edge than they appear. It just sells the illusion a little, I mean, it's a little bit more illustrative, but it works for me. That might have come about from the old comic book days, trying to figure out, like in Spider-Man and stuff, how did they figure out where the muscle should go? How do they know? Well, now I know. Now I know, so. I get asked that a lot in class too. How do you know where they go? That's a lot of learning over time. So the malleolus is about there. I'm just gonna check, is it aligned in the finger? Yes. And then the heel comes down. Okay, we're good again. The heel lines up with these toes. It's all gonna be dark in here anyhow, so I mean, I don't want it to look like a club foot, obviously. Even though our model from the 1800s, we'll never see it. She wouldn't like that very much. Okay, going back up to the darkening beside the kneecap. It's quite straight. And then it softens up, but it drops down. It goes across. So darken that. All right, we're adding more material. By doing that, whatever's beside it, like here, looks like reflected light. And there is some reflected light in here, bouncing up from this triangle up into the leg. This triangle's at an angle. And it's just a fold of some fabric. So I'm refining as I go. The actual shape, I drew it as a straight line, but it's got little curvature. Now it's not white. It's even not as bright as this paper is right now, so I can rub a little bit on it. It might just look white to you. That's fine too. See as you see. There's lots of little folds and striations here. Gonna skip that and not get lost in there. But I'm gonna zip across to where the back is arching. This becomes my next darkest dark. So the crook underneath the back, not just the turning of her body, which is here. That would be core. We want to get the drop of the shadow behind her. It's these shadows that lift the body up and off the picture plane as well. So directly below the finger, there is some tricky fabric stuff going on here. Fold in the fabric. So we'll put that in there. Might not be the exact place, but I'm looking for my darkest darks right now. Under this leg, so it's reflected light in there. It can still be darker. Still be darker. And where this leg is casting a shadow, there's a dark shape underneath. I think I should take voice classes so that I could like turn this into like drawing hypnosis. Use a little Erickson techniques, a little Bandler, a little NLP maybe going on. You can do it. What's weird is I had mentioned that to someone the other day, and now I'm getting ads on Instagram for a deck of cards that prompts you to do that. Don't worry, I don't want to put you to sleep. So it's not going to happen anytime soon. But I swear that phone is listening to me. And that's why my phone is nowhere near me right now. Nowhere near me. Behind the ankle, as the leg tapers up, there's another dark. It's a cast shadow. Right here. So I'm going to use the tip to draw it more hard-edged. But remember, a cast shadow describes the object in which it's falling on. So it's describing the roundness of this leg. So we don't want to lose that. So we'll intensify there. This is reflected light. So in order to help show it, I'm going to draw the calf a little bit darker. You know, pure black, if I can. That might mean changing the direction of my pencil throughout to get in all the little nooks and crannies. And then darkening this off. Darken it. I'm not trying to express more than 2 values in my shadow. I don't need to. I tend to like to draw on the dark side, but it's not necessary. So there is a line the whole way down here. There's no lost edge. So I'm kind of using little circle shapes to help get the black into all the little grooves. I do that when I use the graphite for master copies, bar copies. It helps. I can hear in my mind right now Jeff's marks. So let's do some of those. There'll be more of those for sure. It's so fun to do and meditative. Hopefully I didn't make that a little too big. Going from the tibia tuberosity, which is the same angle as the kneecap, you'll see like a zigzag kind of shape if you squint your eyes. And that comes back to a fold. So we got this triangle shape that happens, you know, around the calf here, around the calf shape. But I'm bringing it up because we have a gentle curve down to the malleolus, down to the ankle. So that shows you kind of where you can put one of your tones. Then there's a dark going up the leg and down to the ankle. So yeah, there's reflected light in there, but it's shown by going darker beside. And we'll intensify that some more. It's kind of like you get like a little bit of a teardrop shape in here. And I would suggest that's probably too light. It's further away from the light, so we've got that fall of light happening. Just soften it up. So over here, just jumping around a little bit, there is a shadow under the thoracic arch. So as she's like breathing in and bending back, that rib cage. So when I squint my eyes, it does seem a little bit darker. And then we slide over to the breast. And this shadow goes along the edge here. But also there's that hard edge, that tendon I talked about, and the pectoral muscle attaching to the inner arm. So that's going to be a nice hard, sharp edge. So I'll use the tip of my pencil. And then a cast shadow here. So we have a cast shadow and a core shadow or form shadow on the breast. They're blending together, so we're not getting a reflected light as you so often do see underneath the breast, because the body's reflecting back up, but the arm is so far away, so it's not shooting reflection back up into it. And over here somewhere will be a highlight for the nipple. May have got a little bit out of hand there. Half tone. Half tone. Maybe it's on the sternum. Put a little bit in there. Okay. So I'm curling as well around the shape here that I'm trying to describe. Whoa! She's not glued in. Pretty much straight across from the groin. You almost have a shape that goes like this. Straight. There's a little light in there that we can pull out. Okay, so this is going to be another dark area. So there is a little bit of a cast shadow in there, but let's just follow the line up. So I'm using the tip here. And it's kind of a gradient of dark. Starts darker closer and lightens up as it goes out. Part of that is because this thigh is reflecting light up into it. It's kind of, if I describe it here, it's kind of a round shape like this. Round there, and then a diagonal pointing to here. Kind of like a drawn through line. I'll soften it up. to the Asus, it's a halftone. I wouldn't call this a shadow, but there is some tone there. All right. Kind of made her feet a little Botticelli'd here. This toe would actually be a little lower, but we'll go back to that. But when you erase out and make it soft like that, it looks really good. So we got the cast shadow underneath there. There's kind of fabric shadow here. And below the knee, and that triangle, it's like this. So I'm just trying to find a location. So it's kind of like this triangle shape. This fold, cast shadow, core shadow. Then it goes up and over. Just so I have some of this finer location, right? I don't want to get lost too much in there. But it will inform some of this stuff down here. So adding more material. Squinting my eyes still. Tibia tuberosity. Darken on all this. Darken it, darken it, darken it. This does read as a light. It is a light, but it's not as bright as the paper. It would fall into our halftone category. It'll be the same brightness as this, here and here. So if you need to dart your eyes back and forth and figure out where that stuff is, smudge away. I want to soften things here. We've got about a minute left in the sitting. I'll get a little bit more of the shapes. There is a triangle-like shape pointing up toward the belly button. You know, it goes across, kind of matches the fold of the body under the thoracic arch. And it goes up to the hip, which is at a slight diagonal here. And there is reflected light in there, but we'll show that by going darker beside. That we can control. Okay. 30 seconds here. Just keep it coming. As long as you can go. Take a little break, take a little breather. I find at this point my focus is already gone. 25 minutes is what science says. Unfortunately, I'm not perfectly in line with science. I'm usually done 30 seconds before. So if you want it to break, you can soften your shadows again. Right? You have a lot more material sitting there. We'll take 5. I'm sweating in the studio. I don't know about you guys where you're at, but man, I already had to take one shirt off here. It's humid too. So we'll take a little 5-minute break. I'll zoom back out. It's coming along. Soften, soften, soften. Let me back that up. There we go. It's not quite the right angle for you guys to see here. Let's go like that, maybe. Okay, so we'll take 5. Come back. More shadows, more details. I'm gonna see Man About a Horse. picture at every stage. Don't forget the picture at every stage. Metallica stuck in my head. One minute. I washed my hands, dried them off. I don't like the air dryers here at C-Space, so I also always carry a hanky in my pocket. Been doing that for years. Anyways, just little notes when you come around, have a hanky in your pocket, because they just got the air dryers here. Okay, this looks pretty rough for a bridge. Bridge protects the drawing. Paper towel will also work. So I'm going to be sliding my hand over it. I don't want to, I've smudged it, but I don't want to smudge things not on purpose. I was also thinking, one of the ways for me to get around the rules about having sound and music on this was that I would just plug my headphones into something and listen in one ear. So I'd still talk. Although, what I'm talking about is kind of boring. I say the same thing all the time. Same as when I'm teaching. It's the same thing. But it gives you insight maybe into my mind. And maybe right now, you're... Okay, 25 minutes. You're just listening to music yourself. What the... Clear. Timer. There we go. 25 minutes. We are halfway. Normally, on a figure drawing night, this would be, you know, a 15-minute break and we get to socialize. But I've been taking up that time and using it at the end to do a critique. And we'll be harsh again. I like the, you know, the honesty of the critique. It's very helpful in learning. Maybe you got Kleenex you could do this with, just any scrap of paper. I'm going to focus this session, this time, on the thing I was avoiding, the hard stuff up here. I've got the basics of the whole body, you know, cheaping out on the hands a little bit, but they can come in the next session. Let's zoom in a little bit. Maybe I'll shift things over. Oh wait, I can just move the tripod behind me. I've actually got this thing clipped. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. So we'll just draw simple shapes still for the head. So I'm not trying to draw a head. In fact, some of my proportions are I'm gonna find that they're off because of the way I'm drawing this now. That's okay. Rather find out this way. So this nose I'm gonna drop down a little bit, I think. But yes, it's a nose, but shut up, brain. I don't know that it's a nose. It's made up of these angles. So why don't I just draw the angles? And who knows what I knows? Oh God, dad jokes. Here they come. But I'll just draw the shadow shapes as if they're abstract. And it will make my life easier. So I'm not trying to draw a face right now. At all. I'm just matching angles. I'm trying to get, you know, relative proportions of width and height. We'll see how I did once we darken everything in. Squinting my eyes. it's not really even lines. What's nice is if you study the bark drawings, you actually learn these shapes. You know, the first drawings I give in the bark class are the eyes from a whole bunch of different angles, and you can really see them in these sculptures. Like, it's the same thing. In fact, they're drawing from sculptures, so we're kind of doing the right thing right now in these figure drawing classes. I'll just move up for you here. So you know, I'm not drawing the face. I'm drawing light and dark shapes. This kind of changes where my shoulder is actually. There's a little bit of reflected light on the shoulder, bouncing off the face here. And then the line. So when I'm doing this kind of drawing and I'm holding the pencil more in the tripod grip, I do lose my tip faster, either from chunking off, breaking little pieces off, but also because it's getting duller. So just be mindful of the sharpness of your pencil. You will be losing it quickly. You can sharpen it a little bit like this. Below the chin, there is a peculiar little like wave shape that goes to the eye. I'm not sure if this is fabric or hair. That doesn't matter because I'm just drawing shapes. This is a really, really dark shape here. There's even a little bit of subtle lightness in there. So I lost the angle of the nose when I was drawing. So I'm going to pick that back up. Oh, I might even... eye shadow there. Zygomat, high bone, low by the nose. It's almost like a little point on that nose. I don't know, looks like a face. It's working. What about these shapes? So this end of this shape, this horizontal, actually comes lower. It's more in alignment with the chin shadow here. So why don't I pull that down? Maybe my angles are a little too pointed up here. But I also got to commit a little bit to what I have, because the page is a little bit gouged. So we'll pull the brow over. And then I don't know, the eye kind of shape starts under, like that. Below, kind of drops down, and then it's like two lumps. This is the brow lump, I guess. I mean, does it look like a face? Pretty much. This comes down. So on the outside contour, I mean, it would be dark here, dark to light, dark behind. But what I like to do is thin the line, make it smaller and tighter on the outside on the light side, because if it's big and thick, it feels kind of clunky and heavy. It doesn't feel right. So I like to race towards the form and just get that line a little bit smaller, a little bit tighter, unless I'm going to tone the background. If I tone the background, then it doesn't matter. So that's pretty good. I'm gonna do, it's dull. The pencil's dull, so I'm just gonna grab another one. And I'm gonna do the shape of the shadows. I'm still on shadow work here, of this hair. The major ones, the major shapes. I don't have to do as much detail as my eye sees in terms of drawing, because that can take away from it at this point. I might be able to, you know, cheat here or there, so to speak. That could be enough detail, especially if I erase out a little bit here and there. So the hair's coming out of that line that I had established earlier, pretty much. So this gives the illusion, this line gives the illusion of a part in the hair. So this eye, my eye here might be a little too rounded. Too fat and rounded. It needs to come up. I'm judging that because of something I did over here. It's interesting how things kind of flop around. This compared to this, you know. Put some more dark in there. This angle should be going more this way. And I'll smudge it. So you see I'm not really drawing hair. I'm just drawing light and dark shapes. And learning to draw hair from sculpture, I really love that I have a cast of it, that Michelangelo one where you can like really shape the beard, the La Queen from the Hellenistic period of time, you know, pre-Greek a little bit. Sculpture has it when they're still being very lots of expression in the body, turning, you know, before the Romans screwed it up and made everything kind of boring again. And then it comes back in the Renaissance once more. You know, during the Renaissance they were looking at the classics, looking at the sculptures that they were unearthing. You know, Michelangelo was inspired by the Belvedere torso. Okay. That's a good enough indication of hair for the amount of detail that I have here. So I'm just looking for more shapes. Big ones though. I don't want to get too small just yet. I might not have time for them, you know, or it's like, honestly, like the model's hair, right? Tend to do it on the last one, but I'm just looking for the shapes to help inform the drawing some more. She's lying in, but there's a detachment here. So I want to attach some shapes. Now, there is, so where that ends, it's nice and dark. It's kind of a hard edge. Maybe I'll show the folds a little more. There is a little shape of light here, and then a little cone of light. So just giving small indications like that can get you a far way in your drawing. I don't have to draw this hair. I can just scrub it in a little bit. It's falling away. Okay. Oh, a question about the atelier opening. Well, there have been some developments. They had a meeting today unfortunately, I could not attend it. So later, I'll have to watch the playback. From what I understand, I'm not sure. The city has, as of last night, made indoor masks mandatory in public spaces. The atelier itself is in a building that's a public space, but I think once we come inside, I'll have to watch more details. So when you're in the building, you would have to have a mask, and when you come into the atelier space, you would not have to have a mask. I am still going to do the drawings like this on Wednesday. I'm not going to actually list non-private classes until the fall, because normally I would be having a summer camp right now anyhow. Sometimes adults. The one I had listed that had filled up, but I had to give everyone their money back, was teens. So that didn't really excite me to relist and repay for advertising. So I'm looking at alternative ways of keeping the place open. And I've been working another job. Oh, she's got wonderful, oh my gosh. Now that I'm into this detail, I see that she's got, her hair is braided. Oh boy. Okay. Just making my life miserable here. Okay, that's enough braid. So I'm gonna watch the video. I'm not 100% sure what I'm gonna do just yet. I'm just this. I've been painting lots of canvases so that I could get some of my own artwork done. I think that's gonna be the gist of it. I don't think I'll have models in here because the numbers just don't work. And it tends to be not busy in the summer here at the atelier. People are out doing plein air. I haven't really been asked to do anything, or any other teachers asking to host. I think everyone's just still trying to figure out what the hey. And what I saw the city say, it was just an Instagram post, so I don't really know. I'm going to do the fold of the fabric on this arm because I've got 10 minutes left and I got a little caught up in the hair, but I like where it's going. It's all a little bit bright, but we'll be able to like cross hatch and draw it and give it a little bit more texture, you know, soften the face here if need be. And then get on to our last session. So there's two more. Kind of. The last one's not going to be as long. And put it, erase out and put in some white highlights. I gotta find my white chalk at the break, so. I hope that answers your question, Jeff. I get the prepay. I am concerned about social media and, you know, social damage to the place. Those people who pre-bought all their tickets, I would like them to still be able to use them. And I got to figure out a way to sign up online. I guess we could do a couple special events. I just haven't been asked too much to host figure drawing. So I don't know if people aren't interested or what. Mostly it's parents asking for things to do for their kids because the camps got canceled. But I'm open to feedback, whatever people want. I mean, I got a big space. I got a model stand. One of our models, Ryan, I saw him in the hallway today. So there are people around. I would love to give them the work. I don't want to hemorrhage out any more money if I don't have to. It's getting a little scary because I'm not going to be opening until the fall. And I know people got their CERB, but I think it's ending for a lot of people. I know that they extended it, but I don't know. I'm doing pretty good, just, you know, using the studio and maybe sleeping in a little too late for my liking. Gotta move that little diamond over from earlier. I think it's in the wrong place now. So this is like this little shape. Is significant. It's at the end of what appears to be like a tie or folds of her garment, and it comes down like that. So there's a cast shadow in there. There's a core shadow underneath it. Then there's a little lump here, and then the shadow underneath the dimple of the elbow. So all of this is still a dark. Turning the form, turning over that form. I feel like it should be more pointed like this. And that's actually, I'm actually going off my feeling here. I'm being a little bit more intuitive now because the shapes are getting so much smaller. This is where I tend to find my distortion happens. Big shapes, you want to keep those things together, right? Okay. So she's got some other little triangles here. So whatever, I'm not really being super accurate. I'll be erasing a lot of this out. The bicep. Crazy times indeed. There's actually even a little bit of a cast shadow from that little dimply shape over. So that makes it look like you got a lot more detail than you actually have. Lumps up. Okay. Moving down the forearm. My forearm might be a little bit pop-eyed here, so I'm going to bring it down. That can make the arm look longer too when you thin it. You know? There's folds here in this negative space. I'm not doing it accurately because this isn't where I need the viewer to focus. So I'll just kind of be a little bit scribbly about it. There's some folds. It could even be erased out super light. Treat it like it's see-through, like sky around or something. Maybe even I'll lighten this guy a little bit right now, that little triangle. Got to get down to this arm though. Wrist, ulna, let's bring it up. Comes almost straight across horizontally. There's not a lot of anything being horizontal or vertical except my original plan, my original line. There's a shadow under the thumb. So I'm not drawing the thumb, I'm just drawing the dark shadow of the thumb. And now my pencil is dull again. So I'll just grab another one. Nice and sharp. You can see how I'm holding the pencil very close to the tip. And I'm just gonna not draw the fingers, but draw the shapes of the shadows. That brings the hand in a little bit there. There's actually 3 fingers sitting here. This one should be lower. 2, 3, and then the one coming out, which will leave the same. Shadow going across the nail, across the fingers. And across the hand. So for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to simplify. I'll draw the cast shadow of the finger, but I got 3 minutes here, so I'm just going to draw it like a diamond pattern. The shadow of the knuckle is under the knuckle of the thumb, and it kind of coasts up, not in a perfectly straight line because there's some fabric there, and pull that dark back down. So I've really intensified my darks. If you don't see them this way, that's fine. After this lump, there's like another little one down here. This is just supposed to represent fabric. And it turns across the side. I don't know, maybe it's supposed to be silk. It could even be. I wouldn't be surprised if it's her hair. If her hair is coming up over here and under her body. So we'll draw it like that. Because that's what it looks to be representing to me. That she's laying on her hair. And it's just lovely and beautiful, made out of marble. Doesn't hurt the drawing to have, you know, some line elements. Gives the eye something to grab onto as well. So that'll be for now. I don't know. Still trying to talk and draw here. This is where I want to be nice and quiet. So maybe after the next break. I'll just draw some more indications of the fabric. Because really, that's an erase job. And I don't have to be as accurate with it. Because I'm not as concerned. It'll just like, okay, that's folds of fabric. We want to get her looking good here. And get some halftones and then the lights in. So what actually happens, that line that goes across, there's like little folds and then they come down. Little folds, man. So if I had, you know, 2 more hours, I would do these proper for sure. I'll just erase out a general. Yeah, sure, that looks good, right? There you go, it's catching the light. So let's take 5. If you have anything you want to smudge down or clean up, do it. I'll pull back the camera. There I am. And straighten it out again. Let's take 5. Photo of the stage. So an hour remains. 2 more sittings. This break brought to you by Delicious Bubbly. I had lemon juice and monk fruit sweetener to it, so it's a little bit more tasty like a soda than just weird tasting bubbly water. They're not a sponsor, I just like them. It has done wonders for me to not drink actual soda pop and all that sugar I was drinking for so long. Maybe I'll do a little quick Photoshop-y thing too, so you guys can see at the end what I'm talking about in terms of the lights and the darks. Obviously they're enhanced, So I will try to enhance them. I do kind of want to, some little details here and there I want to take out. But 2.5 minutes, I will follow the plan. Pomodoro timing. Make yourself some pasta sauce. Sticky. I've got 8 lead oil ground primed panels on the floor here, and I still got a couple days to wait to give them a safe and light sand, but they're still, I just felt them, still a little bit sticky. And I don't want to make a mess, so I gotta keep waiting. The nice thing about oil ground, this doesn't have alkyd in it, so it doesn't shrink at a rapid rate, but oil ground, you know, it's tried and tested true through time, but my neighbor, his house is from 1912, and his fence was painted then, and in like the 1960s, a white picket fence, and still to this day, it's the same white paint. It still looks great. He can wash it off, but you know, they banned lead paint, and us artists can still use it to some degree. I get mine from Rublev, and it's a very strong, elastic, like binding pigment, and it's really, really, really white. So it reflects from the back of the painting. So if you're using a lot of glazes and stuff, it's really nice. Pomodoro timing, 25 minutes. I'm going to continue a little bit with shapes. I'll be erasing probably a lot more than I had in the previous session, trying to just get some of these shapes knocked down and in. Maybe there's going to be a little bit of detail in here. Really, I should be probably working this half dome. So that's what I'm going to do a little bit. Working my half tone. So I will be like Jeff and using the tip, drawing lines across the contour, you know, that kind of thing. Love it. I love the sound. It's meditative, though I have to go fairly quick. Because if I get caught up and just do this leg, I might be here an hour just doing this leg. I don't know if this microphone picks it up either, but cross-hatching essentially. Cross-hatching. A little highlight from the belly button. Oh yeah, and while I'm up here, might as well do the thing we all avoid. Bloody hands. Just get my little crutch here. My little bridge. So, you know, still using that tip then. The shape across the shape, you know, now that looks kind of like knuckles. There's like almost a round shape down here, or, you know, and then darker beside it, and that's what gives that illusion. And this finger seems to be touching the body, and then there's a shadow underneath it, and a shadow that goes across, and that actually informs the shape of this finger up here. So it's like connect the dots, little Pee Wee Herman moments. I'll erase this out though. Gentle swoop. I had it a little too smoothed out and a little bit harsh. Still squinting. Squinting. That places that knuckle right there. This one down here. So some of this line has to disappear. I'll zoom in a little tighter and slide this up. Okay. So there's like fold. So if I go this knuckle across, this finger's actually quite a bit higher. Oh boy, knuckle. Okay. Maybe not so sharp. So without drawing the anatomy of the hand, I mean, you can really see it looks like one. We have to learn to work how we see, not how we know. The fingertip horizontally is in alignment with this knuckle. So it's going to be way up here. So I don't have it drawn in the right place. But that's why working this way works so well, for me at least. One shape informs the other, and you don't have to be right. There should be a process to art. The process allows it to appear. That's going to even change where this thumb is, because this thumb shouldn't go out that far. Maybe the hand is a little small. Make the thumb come out a little bit. Now this figure in the reference is on dark here. So without worrying too much about that, like how wide the thumb is and stuff, you can just use lines side to side rather than the direction of the form, and that will kind of give you a chance to, you know, blur it. It's further away. You could even do that here, but I actually just kind of erased that part out. So that hand, I'm gonna say is done. It looks better than this hand down here, really. I'm not fooling anybody, right? I gotta make this look more like a hand. So there's a nail here. It's gonna be highlight too. This thumb needs its core shadow on it. And it's okay to have a little reflected light in there. Same with these fingers. These fingers actually, they're not catching as much light. They're far down the body, but there is kind of a striation that goes up the hand here and kind of sticks to from the ulna over. So we'll make that all a little bit darker on this side. It's further down. There we go. So I'll erase that out. This will be where the white chalk will go in the next session, the next sitting. We still got 17 minutes. I might even get some on now. Rub this down. This is quite a bit lighter here, that part of the neck. And also, it's kind of like a soft ridge. So I'm not using straight lines. I want to break up my pattern a little bit. And same as here. A little here. Looks like we're getting some lights in now. Chin, lips, nose, maybe a little on that cheek. Okay, that's starting to give us some depth. And I'll darken that core shadow again a little bit more. I like to overdo it a little bit because it makes the drawing pop. It rounds it out a little bit further. It's a trick that I learned more from illustration and comic books. It's not as good for realism. The atelier method doesn't really teach it to pop the core shadow more. All right, where else do I need to go? So I'm getting in halftones. So that's going from the darks in towards the lights. It'll allow me to put a light in beside it. Sometimes I also use my, this is my favorite eraser. I love this eraser. And I'll use the eraser like I draw, like little lines. So we don't have enough halftone here along the thoracic arch. Turning of the form. Can darken this triangle a little bit more. Going across the body. Helps to emphasize, allows your eye to turn. If you're only going that way, it won't turn the form that way. So we'll just darken like this. So these are a little dark for halftones, but it makes this appear light right here. That relationship is probably too far apart. So I'll just add a little bit more. Remember, we're darkening what we see quite a bit, just to give us more range. Here, I'll just use a dirty finger. The old dirty art finger. I think that was originated by Picasso. I don't know. Anyone out there might know. Rest his soul. There is a turning on this side of the leg towards this side of the leg. So I'm going to pull kind of a contour towards it. I know that that's there. I don't necessarily see it. If someone is being painted in color, you have more chroma as it's turning. More chroma tends to mean a little bit more value. It might look light to you, but actually the light should be going down closer to the center of that form. Right? We never want to put the lightest thing along the edge because that'll make something look flat like a plate. So we'll just go up here now with it. Maybe even, this is a little extreme up here. The yoni, let's turn that rounder. There'll be a little highlight here, which we'll draw in later with the chalk, maybe. And it zigzags. When I squint my eyes, I see kind of like a triangle shape starting to happen here a little bit more. Maybe a highlight shape along that edge. We'll see here. Draw like that. Getting more depth. It's looking a little G.I. Joey here. A little too far apart, but just going through the process that I normally do. Turning the form. A muscle over the knee. Halftones though. Halftones. So bringing the dark into the light. Turning the form. Maybe darkening some things as I go. I think this might even go higher up. They're fairly close though. Erase out a little fabric fold just to give the indication. I'm not looking to master folds today. There is a really long one that goes almost to her leg. And then there's a dark shape kind of from the hand to below the knee. Here. We're doing pretty good on time, 10 minutes. We'll getting awfully close to putting in highlights. I'm just going to keep drawing away actually before we get to the highlight section. I'll do that the last 10 minutes maybe. And then we'll compare and contrast on the screen. There is a lost edge here. So I'm just going to erase between the two. I love the lost edges. Love them. Little bit of reflected light in here. Maybe we'll enhance that. See what's in here. Just lighten it up a little bit. It's kind of cheater move, but fold there. Down the front of the shin bone. It might not be quite that light. Whoops. You can see that. Thinning the outline so it doesn't feel so heavy as the form turns. And I'll leave some of the scribbly lines in there as well. They're a nice artistic element. Just clean up beside it. I mean, I could do sun rays coming out here. Back it off a little bit. So we're getting close. We're getting close. Little toe. Dark again. Where was that malleolus? About there. I'll let it catch a little bit of light. A little bit though, I said. This is all darker. Dark, 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 dark. Let's go dark. Under the foot. Dark, dark, dark. Dark under the foot. Kind of looks like a foot. Five minutes or so. Ankle. There is a little bit of reflected light in there, but I'll just show it by drawing the line beside. This should be darker too. The core, just darkening it. Make this look like fabric up here. It's fine. Probably a good idea to darken these folds a little bit, not the whole way around, but in between them a little bit. Gives the eye something to that undulates across. So rather than having just a straight line, which is boring, straight lines are boring. Boring. Maybe I'll darken that some more. Well, we are getting close. Very, very close. It's 8:30. We go till 9, so after the 5-minute break, 5 minutes now, I'll kind of use half the time that's left and then do that little critique at the end where I turn the camera up and face the screen. I kind of feel like I'm done this. Like I wish I could sand my lead, to be honest. Do some more details in this hair. I don't know if you heard that. The pencil going along the paper. So lovely. Hey, Keith. Keith's here. Hey, buddy. All these pictures I've just put on the website. If they're not high enough quality the way you're grabbing them, just let me know and I'll just email them. They were taken with the Canon DSLR Some of them are really blurry. Sometimes they're from the iPhone. But I've always wanted to, like I went to photograph and study these sculptures, so I always want to draw them. So that's kind of why I decided, you know what? Yes, we could get models, but also I could get something done that I've been meaning to do for a while, which is to study them. I sold the one from last week to Mary. I don't know if I think she can't watch tonight, but got rid of another piece today. So if anyone wants an original who's not just here to draw, I'm not partial to keeping things forever. Okay, that's supposed to be braids. It looks kind of messy now. Squinting the eyes, squinting the eyes. Make sure, you know, the shapes are relative. None of this stuff that I'm erasing will be white in the next section, but anything that you're going to make white, oh, there's a little bit right here I will make white, you're going to want to erase before you get to that. Guess we do have time here for this. This is like rock here, so maybe I should actually darken it as I see it. And then it gets really dark over here, so with a minute left, why not? I just had a mental conundrum. I'm going to soften it and rub it in a little bit. I haven't used the blending stump much here. Then I'm going to go on top of it again really quick to give it that rocky look. The ashlar, the imperfect ashlar. So the fabric is smooth and sanded, and then there's, you know, these long lines, but then there's like this rocky bit. And there's actually reflected light right there, but I think it's fairly inconsequential in terms of the design here. I'll just go dark. Until it beeps. Okay, so we're not done yet. Let's take 5. I'm going to actually take the timer with me because I need to see a man about a horse, and I don't want it beeping off for like a minute if I'm not back. Sometimes there's someone and I have to go in the washroom, then I have to run downstairs. So we're almost there, folks. Take a little snappy poo. So 5-minute break, and then we'll do a short run and a critique at the end. I don't hate it. Maybe the foot I hate a little bit. Let's see what happens. Oh, and I gotta find that chalk. Or white charcoal. So I'm taking the timer with me, but it's about 5 minutes. I think I know where the white charcoal is, and none of it's sharp. Okay. Oh, I got the square stuff. This'll do. This'll do. Okay. Seen the man? About a horse. Timer in my pocket. 30 seconds. My hands are wet. Gotta dry 'em. Where's the garbage? Oh, underneath my butt. All right. Okay. Where were we? All right, so it's 8:40. So I'm gonna go for 12 minutes and then close it off with the little critique bit. Hopefully that's enough. Just erasing out. Whoa, sorry. Not paying attention. Where we should be. Just finding areas that will be lighter. Okay, let's put some white chalk in. Having to squint down, but now when I squint, I'm just looking for, I'm squinting down further just to see where lights live. And because I've gone darker than what it is, I'm getting a more distant range, really. That's what I'm effectively trying to do. Oh, I just noticed I gotta get a little bit darker up this side. Yeah, there we go. Oh, we're getting so close. White. General's charcoal. It's not charcoal. Charcoal isn't white. It's titanium dioxide or chalk. And I'm just looking for some highlights. They'll be on the nails. Anywhere that's wet for sure, or really polished. So in this case, for some reason, the breasts are reflecting a lot. I wonder why that is. Maybe the night staff or the cleaning staff really polished this stuff up for the Musée d'Orsay. the lips. This side lips, the chin. I could go a little bit bigger with this, just because she is white marble. I've kind of really based it off the fact that I was going towards how I would do skin tone. So maybe there's a reason to go a little bit lighter. A little bit more light, I mean. There. Come on, get off. I might have to sharpen this a little bit. It's not working so well. Across the knee. Maybe we'll do some of these folds. Whew, she's popping. She is popping. I don't know if that's the effect I wanted. It does look pretty cool. Try to soften all that a little bit. Definitely, I don't like the stuff as much as using the pencils though. Three minutes left, 3 minutes left. I will clean up some edges. Get this long one in. Nice long line. That fabric fold. Whoa! 2 minutes. I feel like I'm done. I guess I haven't signed it. Where should I sign it? Maybe, I don't know. Balance it out by the hair. July 22nd, 2020. Minute and a half left. That gives us, I don't know, 7 minutes. I'm going to call that it for me, and do a little cleanup, and then switch the up to the TV so you guys can see. We'll do a little critique. Thanks for all you guys who are commenting. 40 seconds left in terms of the time. Of course, you can just take more time. But let me just adjust out of here. Get this camera going. This thing's going to beep any second. Yeah. Hey, not bad for a first pull. First pull. Okay. It's a good thing there's a time delay on this thing. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see anything. And level. Oh, she's getting wobbly here. Hold up, camera. Hold up. All right. There we go. Where'd the timer go? We are done out of time. I'm just pulling back here on the screen. All right. Oh man, this tripod. So you can see the image that I'm working from and the difference of crunching the blacks down. Now this might not be the exact same size. I mean, it's maybe 10% different. My darks are much darker. In fact, let me just quickly see if I can adjust it on there, kind of, so we can contrast and compare. That wasn't meant to be a pun about contrast, but then again, it probably was. Let me just see. I'm in preview, tools, adjust color maybe. Let's go for contrast. Okay, I mean, that's a little extreme, but maybe it helps illustrate the way that I'm trying to see and explain. All right, there she is. Let's say I wouldn't mind fixing this chin or this cheekbone up. Mine's a little bit straight and hers is softer and rounder. I guess I gotta do it because I see it now. So I want you to be able to do, you know, your checks and your repairs. I'm happy with it turned out. I've wanted to draw this for a long time. I don't know if I'm happy with the extreme light to dark thing that I did. It's quite a range. It makes it almost look like she's a bronze sculpture that's reflecting light like that she's much darker and just more shiny. So maybe next time I'll do something like that on white paper. I kind of wish I gave it to you guys adjusted like that a little bit. It does simplify things, but that doesn't really help you train your eye. So thank you for joining me. I gotta say all the things. Please like, subscribe, comment below, share with your friends, whatever else there is, social media. If you have done a drawing from tonight of the source material or any other night, please feel free to send it to me. I would love to see it. If I could share it on the Atelier Artista Instagram, that would be fantastic too. But ta-ta for now, and until next week when I'll figure out what else I'm gonna draw, Hopefully, maybe in the great outdoor world, since I don't go out very much, but maybe I'll see you out there. Ta-ta! Ciao for now.